Hello, everybody. The road from Vancouver, Washington to Tacoma, Washington is full of potholes. No, not potholes, but potholes in the sense that you've got to slow down a little bit. I just got back. I've already got a message talking about let me see here, House Bill 3671, and it's in regards to fossil fuels. But before I get to there, what I'd like to do is put a shout out to the forest fire fighters. That's right, the forest fire fighters who are headed up to Winthrop, Washington. Okay, I had the pleasure of meeting a crew at one of the rest areas. We stopped for bathroom breaks, ran into this fire crew, and they were headed up there. You could tell that they had already been fighting somewhere else. But I want to give a shout out to those guys. I've got a picture here that I'm going to try to post here. Give me just a second. Let me see if I can add a picture here. All right. It's not going to let me add a picture. Anyway, the information on those guys, they are Arden Solutions Incorporated, also known as ASI, and fire crew. And fine bunch of gentlemen that I met. They're going into battle when they get there. They'll probably have a chance to freshen up a little bit, but then right back into the flames. They were excited that somebody actually stopped to talk to them, encourage them to be safe, and I asked them to contact me when they got a chance to tell me what would make their job safer. What is it that they need fighting national and state forest fires that they're not getting right now? I liken them to a Marine assault team who's penned down and calls in for support, and boom, it's there. That's just what they need too, okay? That's just what they need too. They need to have that support coming in right now. Winds change, heartbeat, a moment, that's it. We lost some firefighters here a few years back. So anyway, a shout out to the firefighters that are headed up to Winthrop, who are with Arden Solutions, Inc., also known as ASI. Also, coming back from Vancouver, I had a chance to meet one of the volunteers for the campaign down in the southwestern portion of Washington. She's excited about getting going and getting started. But I got to go to Vancouver this morning, okay, and I got to hear Dorothy talk about single payer. She described a little bit about herself at the Q&A. Some really good questions for her, questions and comments. I applaud her for her efforts and the support that she's getting. She has a really good campaign. And also, there at that meeting, some of the people coming by to see Dorothy and support her were Democrats from Oregon, okay? And also Don Orange. They're calling him the Orange Man. And I encourage you to also take a look at him. He's an environmentalist when it comes down to safety and water protectors. And yes, Ray, Dorothy is awesome. And I am so happy. I am so happy to meet another veteran. I mean, to hear her talk up there, I mean, I feel like I plagiarized her campaign. This is the first time I've met her And I only started to get to know about Dorothy in the last week to 10 days. But to think about how progressives, those independents, progressives, are out there, one mind, one purpose, okay? Public servants to you and I, public servants. It was a very, very good meeting today. As I said, I have a few pictures that I'm going to be able to post, and I'm going to also get her live feed that she had this morning, and I'm going to rebroadcast that as well. So looking forward to seeing her again and working with her people. She has a very, very good group of people working with her, and it was enjoyable driving from Tacoma to Vancouver. You share the picture of Dorothy and Congresswoman Gabbard together. Yes, I can. Yes, sir, I will. Right now, my computer is not as ambidextrous as I am when it comes to wanting to multitask. But in time. But it was so good to see somebody like that. And we talked a little bit about getting together, town halls, and working together. And so I'm going to leave that up to those people who are helping me with my campaign, some of the advisors, campaign manager, et cetera, and let's get it done. Let's start having these town halls. I mentioned it last night, and today it fortified the issue even more so, because had there been a couple of other CD candidates out there, congressional district candidates out there, and along with myself, and we were there supporting Dorothy, wow, it starts to show unity among the progressives here in the state of Washington. And I think that we can do that. I think we can make it happen. Now, I did get a request tonight on, let me pull that up here, on the House resolution. I'm going to go ahead and type it in, unless somebody else wants to. But it's House Resolution 3671. And it's in order to get us off of fossil fuels. It's to eliminate our need for fossil fuels. And that is a pretty big, heavy-duty ticket item when you think about it. I mean, Detroit's coming out with these muscle cars. I mean, there's some pretty powerful cars. And then the boom sound, that sounds good too. I like it when my Tahoe, goes to accelerate. Sounds pretty awesome. Sounds powerful. But also, so it's my Kia. It's an electric vehicle Evo model, and so it's electric and gas. And we look to see about trading in our car this year on the 2017 Kia, which was rated at 100 miles per gallon. I drove it for 2 hours, and I got 99.9 miles per gallon on it. So yes, we need to make that move off. And the automotive sector is probably one of the fastest groups that we can do that, because we already have the supply chain, and we all have the technology available, and we should be able to do automotive rather quickly, especially when European truck makers, Mercedes-Benz, as well as automakers, but the Mercedes truck line, they have a short range, 200-mile truck, similar to what the FedEx and UPS guys drive around here, okay? And so what that does is it gives a major boost to the environment, to the air quality in those metro cities. And a 200-mile range is not that shabby. That's where you come down to managing your routes a lot more efficient. So I know from a fact that here in the state of Washington, up in Bellingham, there's a group of fellas that are taking your internal combustion engines, ICE engines, internal combustion, and converting them to full electric. upon request, I'll get that link for you. In other broadcasts, I'll be able to have that link for you. But this was a request that came to me prior to going on the air. But I had to make those announcements about being in Vancouver, and I had to give a shout out to those firefighters. They all live here in Washington State, so I hope the word gets around to the firefighters that there's somebody that's genuinely interested in what they need and someone who will fight to get that. So I feel really good about meeting those young men today. They're going out in harm's way later on this evening. And so keep them in your thoughts, good thoughts. And if you're in the area up around Winthrop, Washington, if you can, do what you can to volunteer. Food services, water, whatever, you know. But check with your local first responders and see what you can do to assist if they're looking for volunteers, okay? But a big shout out to those guys who are walking into the flames today. Now, forest fires, they add to that consumption too. And people were saying that cattle put a lot of methane into the air, okay? But I'm thinking that this bill here that I just mentioned, Tulsi Gabbard, you know, I think that this bill here is going to be the one that's going to make our industry re-gear itself, repurpose itself, redefine itself, redirect itself, hire people, technical people, having people, skilled technicians, and taking away our need for fossil fuels. And that means no oil-fired or coal-fired electrical generation plants. But if we could focus in those areas by getting homeowners and businesses basically off the grid or creating power, those plants wouldn't have to operate at full capacity. And besides, if each and every home in these industrial areas where these coal and oil-fired plants are at were off the grid, what does that mean? In the event of a local or regional emergency where power lines are knocked down and the roads are icy, you can't get through, but you also, you've had a tornado just go through and wipe everything out. But if that fueling station, that gas station, that 7-Eleven or Ohio station in some cases, has standalone power, not fossil fuels, but wind generation, solar power with battery packs. I mean, come on, let's be real about this stuff. We could recover from disasters a whole lot faster. The sad thing about it is the folks in Puerto Rico and the Caribbean islands that have been hit by these horrific Category 4 and 5 hurricanes, where basically the land was just scoured. So anything that would have been mounted, solar panels or wind generators, would have been destroyed. But right now, it would be nice if they could get some type of alternative energy sources down there, even if it's just making refrigeration for medication and or food supplies that need refrigerated. And since there's no refrigeration, it's going to make it really hard when they start there. If they're not able to bury their dead, and they'll lay in the morgues for a long time, that's not a good thing for the health and well-being of the survivors in these island nations. But here in the United States, we can do an awfully lot. I mean, we went from making farm equipment and sewing machines to tanks and machine guns during World War II. I so often wanted 44 to declare war on pollution, declare war on the environment that was becoming destroyed, declare war on those who were destroying it, and go into a wartime manufacturing of alternative power sources. Small wind generators, the big ones are okay, but for the individual use in your own home area, a couple of those wind generators and some solar panels, and you're good to go. You're going to supply your needs, and you'll be off the grid if it comes to that point. But look at what you're going to be doing. Possibly saving yourself, depending on your location and how much energy you use, you could be saving yourself anywhere from $50 to $300 a month. That's a lot of money. I think that their alternative power sources would pay for themselves rather quickly. Now, what are some of the hang-ups? What are some of the drawbacks? What are some of the things holding back this big push for alternative energies? And that lies within our Congress. They don't want it because they're tied to big oil. They're taking money from big oil. And it's important that we cut that tie. Not so much our need for oil to propel our vehicles, but to cut that tie between those legislators and their lobbyists. You know, there's pocket money. We need to cut that tie. Now, I don't care how painful it is to them. I really don't care. They haven't cared too much about you or I these past 40 years. So why should we care how they feel or what they think? When they've been raping our environment, that's right, I used the word rape. They have forcibly taken the pristine effects of this environment that we call America. They've destroyed it. They are destroying the water supply. Anybody tried to drink a glass of oil lately? Doesn't happen, does it? So we need to protect our environment from top to bottom, our aquifers. We don't need to be pumping all this oil out of the ground. We may need it someday, but we don't need it today when we have the technology to live off the sun and the air that blows around this globe. We have other sources too. We have tidal, we have geothermal. There are many different ways, and we could even wean ourselves off of nuclear power. We have to, because we have messes like Hanford, toxic waste dumps. Toxic waste dumps where the workers can't even go in there and expect to live until they see Social Security or retirement because they're poisoned, radiation poisoning, and or some other unknown exotic substance that was created. And my stance on that, if you can't re-engineer it, deassemble it, then you have no right to create something that cannot be contained. And it starts with us, okay? It starts with us. And how does it start with us? Well, we register to vote. We make sure that when we put something in our recycle or waste pickup, that it's not going to, in turn, leak back out into the environment and poison the aquifers. But we could go clean energy. We could go clean energy, this whole nation, okay? We could go all the way, every residential home in this country. I believe it was a 2012 census that I saw, 280 million registered motor vehicles on the road. That's individual owners like you and I. And it doesn't count all the diesel trucks and the delivery trucks and the cranes and all that stuff, or the bulldozers or the big tractors or the farming equipment. It doesn't include all that stuff. But 280 million registered vehicles, and I know that number's gone up higher now. And some of them are well kept and some of them aren't. Some of them you cannot stand to be behind because of the oil that they are burning and kicking out their exhaust. We need to go clean completely. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. We don't have a choice. If you carry anything about your grandchildren or your nieces or nephews or your anyone other than yourself, if you care good about yourself, then you should want to care more about someone else that you don't even know. You never know. You might end up in that part of the world. And because you didn't take a stand for clean water, water's $25 a gallon. And you need a gallon a day to survive. Cooking, washing, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. You need at least a gallon in today's world. And if we poison it all, we're not going to have anything. So going completely green, using alternative fuel sources, as I mentioned. I mean, my car gets good econ on the highway. Okay? I need to slow down so it gets better. But we need to think about our future. We need to think about it. And the future starts with us and the choices that we make. We need to wean ourselves off of fossil fuels. If we could all ride motorcycles, that'd be fantastic because the fuel economy on those are just fantastic, okay? A motorcycle can get just as many miles as I get in my car sometimes. They may have to fill up another time, but the fuel economy, the cost to fill up their vehicle. But we all can't drive motorcycles. I know I can. But we need to start our factories. Our factories could be charged by electricity. And electricity, if you've ever used an arc welder, which is electric, a solar-powered steel factory could have all the energy it needed to melt the steel, to form that metal that we want for our automobiles. That's right, heavy industry. We could supply heavy industry with what they needed. Plain and simple. We have the technology. It's whether or not our Congress and our Senate and our president will move forward on it. I mean, how deep do they have their hands in big oil's pocket? Big oil, when I talk big oil, I'm talking about fossil fuels. I'm talking about liquid propane gas. I'm talking about anything that you have to burn to create power to go or to turn on the light switch. Anything that you have to burn has to go. So I'm asking everyone, let me pull this up. I was a little bit late today. I apologize for that, but it is House Resolution 3671. And Tulsi Gabbard introduced this September 1st of this year. So this is very new. So if we can get on this and follow Tulsi on this effort, okay? If we can do that, we can help get something done, okay? And that's right here. Let's see if I can get this up here for you. All right, can you see that? It's just I'm having a little bit of trouble typing and talking. It was a good day today. That's all I can say about that. It was a good day. I'm looking forward to having more days where I get to meet other progressives out there. Okay, do we got that, folks? Okay, look that up. Tulsi Gabbard sponsored it the 1st of this September. Okay, so let's get on it. Let's get the ball rolling. Let's give her some support, calling in our senators, calling in our governors, and calling in the congressional representatives. They're out there now. It's an upward fight for her, okay, because she's not taking super PAC money. She's not taking corporation money, and she sure as the hell ain't in big oil's pocket. And most of the people that are progressives and independents today are also saying no to big contributions, no corporations, no super PACs, individual donors. That's how we roll. Plain and simple. I had the comment made to me today, Bernie did this and Bernie did that. Well, I will tell you this. I remember the senator saying this. If I tell you something, you know it's wrong, do not listen to me. And I think right now, as of September 23rd, 2017, I think we took that to heart. We didn't bow to the Democratic Party. We voiced our opinions, and they slapped us in the face. I left the Democratic Party, and I think that possibly I might have a contender coming up. I told you I was looking for a good fight, and she's probably the only one that's going to give me a good fight. No, it's not Maria Cantwell, that's for sure. But you'll see. I guess we're trying to get all the people, all the progressives out there. We're trying to get them together so that we can discuss some of the things that we consider progressive. We already have in common no super PACs, no corporation money. And I think that that's a good start. That's common ground for all of us. And we take it from there. I would like your comments, your questions. I mean, I need some help tonight, folks. All right. I developed I showed you a video a week or so ago about a big Boeing 727. Okay. And it talked about airplanes flying across the water using battery power. Yes, it can be done. Automobiles can be equipped with generators built into them to keep the electric car charged, okay, while going down the highway. Sounds pretty good, doesn't it? That technology is there. That technology is there. The question is, do we have to make a bill to make everything work? Do we have to shove it down people's throats? Can't we have a little bit of common sense? It's our environment we're talking about. It's our water. It's our air. It's the food we eat. And I understand that there was a couple of places, and it could have been just a slam on California. But it would not surprise me one bit that these fracking companies are dumping their fracking stuff to where the only water that these people have to water their gardens with or their fields, is this fracking water. And I'd be interested to see the results of that. I mean, when presented the opportunity to indulge in something to drink, when they said it was perfectly safe to drink, and they declined, that's the same thing as the fool in the king's court and the queen conspire to kill the king, and the fool's the one who gets to drink the wine. And he doesn't. He runs off or he spills it like a fool does. Okay? If I were the king, I'd be wondering, what's going on here? But if somebody will not drink what they tell you is perfectly safe, it's not safe. They have to drink it first. Plain and simple. And we need to stop punching all of our resources into oil production and natural gas production. We need to be weaning ourselves, shutting down that need, and creating electric vehicles. A much smarter grid. We've got to increase our salmon runs here in the Pacific Northwest. We've got to make sure that those are sustainable, and they're not. Governmental officials just trample all over the First Peoples' rights, right over their sovereign nation, right over their treaty rights, and if they can't get them right there on the treaty land, they'll screw them on the access points. If you don't believe me, just follow the stories. Just follow the stories. They use a thing called eminent domain, but it does not apply to a sovereign nation. Eminent domain is an act of war on a sovereign nation. Okay? An act of war. Let me say that again. An act of war on a sovereign nation, our first people, treaty signed by our government, and we decide that it's lost its validity because there's something we need as the leaders of Manifest Destiny. Manifest Destiny, in my opinion, okay, needs to be redefined. Manifest Destiny should include every living being on this planet. Manifest Destiny should mean the welfare of each and every one of the inhabitants on this planet. No wars, no wars, no oil spills, no more oil. Gathering all of our energy from the sun and the wind and other sources. We don't need destroying the environment. So as I mentioned earlier, check out that bill. I believe it's, let me hold this up again here. That'd be House Resolution 3671. Off of Fossil Fuels for a Better Future Act. In the 115th Congress, the sponsor, Representative Tulsi Gabbard. Get a chance, read it. I want to know how you think. I want to know what you think about it. I want you to think about your environment. I want you to think about the people that live next to you. Are some of their health concerns because of pollution in the water supply? I know the Clinton County, where I grew up at, had some of the best tasting water. You could virtually walk down the creeks, and drink from the water. It didn't make any difference. I mean, then chemicals came into it. Farmers needed to produce more. And so it started leaching into the water systems. Now, when you've got farmers who that are always out in the fields and they live to 105, 106, 107 years old, you would think that it was just in their genes. Well, maybe it was in their environment. Maybe they were organic farmers. Maybe they used organic means to produce their crops. Maybe they did. That's what I did for my garden this year. It was organic. And I mean, there was 3 weeks that I did not get to water it early in the spring. And it's still come out okay for being pretty much a volunteer garden with 6 weeks of neglect. I was in vacation. The wife and I were seeing the grandkids and children, having a good time. Our first vacation in 4 years. And so we enjoyed it. We got to see Southern America, Southwest America together. We got to see the Gulf states together. We got caught in a rain squall in Lake Charles. So, I mean, yeah, we had a good time. But when we talk about our environment, people are saying, well, look at these two these two hurricanes. We've had 4 or 5 hurricanes, here in the span of a month. And we've had earthquakes. And now people are saying that really bad weather, like hurricanes, tornadoes, etc., are detrimental and probably are related to seismic activity. I don't have enough evidence to prove that. And so I'm asking you, if you hear that also, you can take the same stand that I'm taking. You can, one, say the jury's out on that one. Look it up yourself. But I don't think there's a correlation between the two. I really don't. And if you think there is, bring me proof. Okay? Bring me proof. But we do know this. I remember when I was growing up, LA, that was the last place I wanted to go. I mean, pictures of LA, you could see just the tops of the building. It looked like they were in fog, but it was really smog. LA was a smog capital. And then when LA kind of cleaned itself up, Mexico City, because of the way they sit inside a valley, surrounded by mountains, their index level for safe air, it was bad for a very long time. And a shout out to those first responders in Mexico. Thank you for the care and the love that you've been giving to the survivors and to the families who lost. Thank you. But our environment is a very touchy thing. We only need a few degrees change. That's all we need. Our growing seasons will be whacked. Our rain timetables and other things will be whacked. We'll either get too much or none at all. What was temperate and full of vegetation could turn into a desert with just a shift of the jet stream. So, I mean, there's a lot of things that we need to consider. What can we do in the short term to protect our environment? Well, I'd like to think that in the next 10 years, with a full-blown production capacity and new hires in the technical field of solar installation and maintenance, as well as design, that we'd be able to do pretty close to the 2012 census figures on homes, residential homes, 78.5 million. I think that number has probably grown to maybe 85 by now. That's 5 years ago that was done. And that doesn't count all the condos and apartment buildings and high-rise. It doesn't count those, but residential buildings. And it would be nice. 78 million people, just multiply, rough figure, 78.5 million times $100 per month. 78.5 million times 100. Okay? And that would be the average savings because of heating and air conditioning. Okay? That's a lot of money, isn't it? An awfully lot of money that we could save in utility, that we could save a step towards saving our environment, the air we breathe, the rainfall that we get. Remember the acid rain? For those of you who are old enough to remember acid rain, yes, it was real. Acid rain was real. It killed a lot of forest areas, damaged a lot of forest, as well as other orchards, other crops. We need to protect our environment, not only for the water we drink, but for the food we eat, the air we breathe, we need to leave something to our grandchildren. We need to leave something to our great-grandchildren. And at the rate we're going right now, our children will probably be cursing us out because we didn't do anything. Because now they're either submerged in water, the earth has become a barren place, there's no water, water's at a premium, people drinking their own urine. Hey, listen, I'm going to tell you like it is. I'm going to tell you like it is. We keep going the way we are, you'll probably be recycling your urine like the astronauts do. Okay? But you may not have the filtration system that they have. And so what did that mean? You could get all kinds of diseases. Cholera, all kinds of stuff. Yuck, nasty stuff. Okay? We have to put up a fight. We have to fight for clean air. We got to fight for clean water. And the only way we can do that is to get off of fossil fuels. And I encourage you again, okay, check out Tulsi Gabbard on this climate change bill that she put in September 1st of this year. Okay? That's what I'm talking about. Make sure that we get that word out. And that's House Resolution 3671. Go read it. Let Congresswoman Gabbard know that you stand behind her. The people out there are already running for the 2018 race. We're already talking about the environment and what we can do, what we need to stop. And we're even being nice, some of us. I'm not so nice. We need to just cut off the oil lobbyists, first of all. Cut them off. Any kickbacks that they get, cut them off. Any tax breaks they get, cut them off. When you're operating at a profit, you don't get nothing from the Fed. Nothing. Nothing. So you think about your environment. Think about what you can do. Minimize some of your trips. Turn your thermostat down. And let Congresswoman Tulsi Gabbard know that you stand with her. Go to her website and stand with her, saying, I endorse this, Congresswoman. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Let her know. Because there are those of us who are running, like I said just a moment ago, in 2018. We got to get through the primaries, and we can only get through the primaries here in Washington with your help. The top two winners of the primary go on to the general. And here's where I'm asking you to stand up here in Washington. Make sure you're registered to vote. And vote. Get active in a campaign close to you. In the sense of my campaign, I'm statewide. Now, today I got up early. Now it's just part of the game, you know. You get up, you get suited up, and away you go. And at halftime, you may get a water break, you may get to go to the bathroom, I don't know. But then the next two quarters are on. But the Congresswoman needs your help right now. Go to her website, drop her a mail, let her know that you endorse, and then look at what you can do locally. Start looking for those progressives, those independents close to you, and what we can do. Here in Tacoma, we're fighting in a liquid propane tank. The water protectors are there right now. The water protectors, that's right, water protectors. Trying to protect the environment. trying to protect the environment, the water you drink, and then I drink, and we bathe in. So, everyone, it's Saturday night. Who's got plans for tonight? I do. I do. I'm going to unwind a little bit, answer some mail, talk to some people that have messaged me. Tomorrow night we won't not be on, but Monday night we'll be back. We are getting to the point now that we're going to start editing the videos that you have watched on live feeds. We'll still have those videos in their entirety, but we're going to start taking snippets from them for 20-second feeds, 15-second feeds, sound bites, basically, sound bites. And we're going to start putting them out there for people to see. We're going to get our YouTube account rocking and rolling. I also heard that there was a place called Reddit that we might think about using. So I'll let the people who are smarter at this communications game than I am make the suggestions, and we move that way with extreme prejudice, because we need to get our word out. We need to get our people behind us. And I know it's a long time off, but you know what? The primaries for 2018, they're going to be here on us before we know it. The primaries are going to be on us before we know it. They're in August. We're in September. So we have October, November, December. We've got about a year to be ready for the primaries. They have all the money. We have all of you. And we're counting on you. The progressives and independents like myself, we're counting on you. Not only here in the state of Washington, but across this nation. We are counting on you to help us achieve the goals that we have set out, the voices that we have heard so that they can be heard in Washington, D.C. Because right now, our two sitting senators here in Washington, I'm not impressed. I'm not impressed, period. That's why I'm running. If I was impressed with what they were doing, I'd be on here maybe making some nice comments about them. But I can't think of anything that they've done except that big defense bill, which means I guess we're going to war again soon, right? If you look at all the defense bills that have major increases, usually it's followed within a year, 18 months, maybe sooner, that we are engaged in a full-blown deploying our military to another BFE. And to the American citizens, that's where these places are, BFE. All right? For those of you who know what it is, good. For those of you who don't, you don't want to. But I will tell you this. We could have taken that military budget that was awarded to the Defense Department, and we could have repurposed our military into building our highways, our bridges, our airports, our subways, our high-speed internet, our high-speed rails as well, to rebuild places like Flint, Michigan, and I believe down in Southwest United States, Native people don't have safe drinking water. It's like it was piped in from Flint. But our military could walk in there on an exercise and repair, replace, and make new, and give the people of that city or that tribal nation fresh water. water safe to drink. And you're saying, well, why do we want to use our military to do that kind of stuff? I'm going to tell you something. It's not going to affect their military readiness or their ability to react in the case of a national emergency or a regional disaster or whatever. It's not going to affect their ability to do that. What I spoke of in highways, rails, and things of that nature, those are strategic assets. And for those Republicans and Democrats who don't remember Dwight Eisenhower, who helped start that internet system, that interstate system, because he saw the strategic advantage of it in our ports and our harbors, those are strategic assets. And with the global warming issue, what are we doing to protect those assets? Do you know how many trillions of dollars are built into a naval base? A sophisticated naval base? One that services aircraft carriers and nuclear submarines? Nuclear surface ships? Do you know how much money goes into servicing those and how much money has been invested in that location? Trillions. At least $1 trillion. When you think about the war machine that is parked there at that neighborhood, that area. And that's right, it's a war machine. But I want to repurpose that. I want to repurpose it into domestic accomplishments. It will be good favor with us on the rest of the nations. And someone's going to say, oh, to hell with them. F them. But you know what I say to you? F you, man. There's no respect. If people fear you, there is no respect. It's only fear. It's fear. If you're the kid in the classroom or out on the playground and you're always getting picked on by the bully, all you can do is show him respect because you're afraid you're going to get hurt again today. No, we are not that kind of nation. We are not the policemen of the world. We are a republic, and we are not an empire. And the sooner we can start by repurposing our military into refurbishing, renewing our infrastructure, strategic resources, as I like to call them now. We don't need a jobs bill. We just need the money going to our military and with their mission to rebuild the highways, to rebuild the waterways, the canals, the aquifers. No oil pipelines, dismantling the oil pipelines and gas pipelines going across this nation, dismantling them. They could be paramount in the installation of solar material into the homes, residential, condos, businesses. Do you need a tax break to do that? If that's the only thing that's motivating you, am I going to get a tax break? Think of the money that you're not going to spend every month. Most of these units are good for 25 to 30 years. And if it takes you 5 years to pay this off, your payment that you're making to pay for those solar panels, you might pay them off sooner based on the amount of energy you use. Money that you're not giving to the utility company, but money that you're giving back to yourself. That's right, money back to yourself. Money that's going to be in your pocket. Money that you know that you can progressively go and do something. And that's plan a future. Because by 5 years, you won't have any payment to the solar company or the wind tip power. You might have a service fee to come out and inspect. But, you know, what's $49.95 to do that? Make sure all the connections are good and all that. That's change. That's all it is. That's change. Especially if you use electricity to heat your home. That's just chump change. And it's time we take it back. It's time we put our dollar bills, our tens and 20s and hundreds back in our pocket and not going to the utility company. Okay? So let's think about that. Let's think about going green. Alternative power sources, wind and solar, the ones that are most readily and easily to install and deploy right now. And get our military repurposed. They've got the money now. There's no reason why they can't. But repurpose them into our highways, our waterways, our airports, our rail systems. Too many rail derailments going on. And I got a feeling that they'll say, well, it's not the infrastructure, it's sabotage. It's sabotage. It's terrorist. Well, the only terrorists in this country that I've seen here in the last year, 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, have all been white men. Think about it. White men. White men that were supremacist, hated people of color, had a Jethro Bodine education. That's right, 6th grade. They dropped out. They dropped out probably in the 5th grade, but their Paul beat them and said, no, you're going to know how to do double whatever that means. So let's take care of our environment. Again, go to Congresswoman Tulsi Gabbard's website. Read that energy bill that she has proposed as of 1 September 2017. Read it. Ask her a question if you have one. But most important, read it, and if you believe in what she's saying, let her know that you endorse this bill and that you support her. Let her know that you stand beside her, even though you're not in a state that you can vote for her, even though you're not in a congressional district that can vote for her. Support her. Start turning the tide. I got a feeling we're not going to get anything done until 2018. But it's people, servants, like the Congresswoman, and those up and coming Congresspeople, and independent senators, and independent Congresspeople as well. They are the ones who are making the difference. They're the ones who are going to make the difference. When it gets time to walk the talk, they already are. It's not going to be any swish sway. It's going to be down to business. That's why I encourage every one of us to get together in your districts, in your state, in your areas. Support these individuals. Help them get there where they can make a difference for you and I and the rest of the nation. It's not just the eyes of the nation that are looking at us. They're thinking that, Bernie Crouch, yeah. Think again. There's over 40% of us who are independent. Yes, some of us may be aligned to a party, but even we have over 40%. We have a voting bloc. Even if those other two parties, the duopoly, as we like to refer to them as, even if the duopoly was to endorse each other and vote to each other and become the DR or the RD or whatever they wanted to call themselves, they still wouldn't have enough power, people who believed in them. Only those who were brainwashed, like Stepford Wives. Okay? You ever see that horror flick? That's one of Mike Pence's favorite books, The Stepford Wives. One of my it's he goes home and reads it to his wife. I don't know. I don't know. I'm trying to make a funny here. But we need to be serious about our environment. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. We need to curb our waste. We need to recycle properly. We need to make sure that hazardous materials are sent to the areas that are collectible sites so that they can dispose of them properly without them leaching back into the environment. We need to be proactive as individuals. We need to be very proactive as communities. We need to make sure that we have councils and mayors and port authority people who are making sure that we are doing the best we can to recycle the waste that we are generating daily. We need to be able to recover the waste that is polluting our oceans and byways. We need to do that as well. And perhaps with the repurposing of our United States Navy and our Air Force and military, the rest of them, we can figure out through technology a much faster way, a much more efficient way to protect the seas. And if you live close to the ocean, or let's say you live landlocked and all you got is largemouth bass, which is not too bad of a meal, a little gamey, but not too bad of a meal when you get right down to it, when it's properly grilled in the skillet or open flame. But for those of us who live along the coast and we live off of sea life, seafood, even the kelp beds, those who are vegetarians who just love kale chips, you know. So the ocean is being destroyed. We destroy the ocean. We destroy the land we live on as well. Didn't mean to leave you in such a gloomy thought, but think about your recycling. Think about your trips. Try to be more concise. Gasoline prices are going up, as well as diesel prices. They're going up. So let's start talking about conservation, because with the oil refineries in Texas and the Gulf Coast, Gulf states that are knocked down for maybe 6 months, it'll be next year sometime before we start seeing fuel running out of those. And for those areas that use wintertime kerosene to heat their homes, they're going to be in somewhat of a hard spot. The fuel prices are going to go skyrocketing, and there's the people that live in those areas are going to suffer greatly if they're on fixed income. So let's start thinking about our consumptions. Let's start thinking about those who are not as fortunate to provide for themselves what they're going to need with the energy shortage that's coming up here at the end of this year. It's just facts, people. Just facts. I mean, it's not scare. The report was 6 months. Some of those places weren't going to be ready in 6 months. A lot of damage. So let's conserve, and let's follow Tulsi Gabbard's lead. Okay, let's follow her lead. Support her, endorse her, let her know. Make her mailbox just overflow with happiness. Okay? I'll see you Monday night at 6 o'clock. Remember, I'm Dave Strider, your independent choice for senator in the state of Washington. I found out today that I'm not the only independent. That's okay. I'm not worried about it. You shouldn't be either. Let's rock and roll. It's Saturday night. Let's have a good time. Let's get some rest tomorrow and kick off Monday. Monday at 6 o'clock Pacific time. We'll be live again. I should have some pictures from today's events, some of the firefighters that I saw, and some of the people I had a chance to meet down in Vancouver today. Good night, and have a very good rest of the weekend. Be safe. We'll see you Monday, 6 o'clock.